Mr. Clerk, reporting out of closed session. We have one item.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the motion for reporting out of closed session is that the report be received and that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Okay, would someone like to move that? Councillor Gallo, second. Councillor Thompson, comments or questions? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the item of council reporting out of closed session. Councillor Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
You and Mayor Maracas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that? Councillor Gardner, second. Councillor Kim. Mr. Clerk?
To you, Mr. Mayor, we normally just hand vote.
All right, just making sure again. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Kim, Councillor Humphreys, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. All right. Mr. Clerk, time is 7:04. I will call this council meeting to order. Procedural notes. This meeting will be held electronically as per section 19(1) of the town's procedural bylaw number 6228-19 as amended due to the COVID-19 situation. Council, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as with the added items? Councillor Humphreys, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Mr. Clerk, actually, any comments or questions before I ask for the clerk for the clerk vote? Nope. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the approval of the agenda on this evening's council agenda. Councillor Humphreys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner? Sorry, Councillor, you're just on mute there.
My apology. Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
And Mayor Maracas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Community presentations. We have one. Kelly Broom, Run for South Lake Committee member regarding 2021 Nature's Emporium Run for South Lake. Kelly, welcome.
Hello. Hello, councilors and Mayor Maracas. Thank you for allowing me to come into your meeting this evening. As you know, I am a town councilor with the town of Newmarket, and being a deputant is a very interesting experience. So, let's find my glasses. Hold on a sec. I also wanted to thank Linda for helping me transition into this meeting so smoothly. Thank you very much, Linda. We would like to invite you to join the 2020 Nature's Emporium Run for South Lake Virtual Challenge. At the South Lake Foundation, we fundraise with one goal in mind, supporting our leading edge hospital and the communities it serves to make sure they have the tools and equipment they need to do their best work. As a community grows and changes, our hospital and foundation fundraising goals grow too. As always, looking forward to ensure that we are serving our current and future patients best. Next slide, please. For almost 100 years, South Lake has shown a passion for care for our communities from our beginning as a 6-person bed care home. South Lake has evolved to become a 500 regional center that provides leading edge hospital services. South Lake is building healthy communities through outstanding care, innovative partnerships, and amazing people like you. South Lake is our hospital. It is where our friends, our families, our neighbors, and our community members go to receive leading edge care close to home. Whether it's the birth of a new baby, complex cardiac care, cancer treatment, or emergency visit, South Lake is proud to serve our communities. Next slide, please. From April 12th to May 9th, this 4-week virtual challenge will enable you, your staff, and your community members to build on skills developed the previous weeks and help you warm up after some pretty seriously uncomfortable winter months due to COVID-19. The health and safety of our communities is our top priority as our hospital continues to fight against COVID-19 and the physical distancing guidelines remain in place. This year, we are inviting you to join us once again for a virtual Nature's Emporium Run for South Lake, another fantastic experience for our whole family. The great thing about the virtual event, it is so much more customized to your goals, which you'll be able to set and track, earn badges along the way, and access exclusive content to help you get there. Registration is already open at runforsouthlake.ca. Registration is $50 per person for all ages. This includes your t-shirt, medal, race kit bag, plus access to inclusive content throughout the 4-week challenge. Be among the first to register and get a pair of custom running gloves as a bonus gift. Quantities are limited, so act fast. Next slide, please. In 2020, the Mayor's Challenge exceeded their 2019 goals, raising over $45,000. As you're all aware, the town of Newmarket is currently holding that fundraising win at $24,280 and currently holding the bragging rights along with the trophy. I suspect you'll be looking forward to continuing to hang on to that. And I truly hope that you step up today and start your team. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to participating alongside you during this year's Nature's Emporium Run for South Lake 4-week challenge. And I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Kelly. And before I get the questions, just want to correct something. You said town of Newmarket, it's town of Aurora. So I know you're biased, but I'll throw that out there. So.
I was kidding, making sure you're all listening.
Oh, we're listening. We're listening.
I know you got the socks.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's why they picked me. They picked me to, rev you guys up. So it was a very distant second that the town of Newmarket landed in. So I think we're expecting big things. But I do have to say that I have done the same deputation to Bradford, and they're getting pretty ramped up. So hopefully we can kill our target once again.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. So, Council, if I can just get a motion to receive the presentation first. Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Thompson, any comments or questions for Kelly Broom? Councillor Humphreys.
Hi, thank you, Ms. Broom, for coming, joining us this evening, and thank you for being part of the committee. It's like isn't it an amazing experience? And
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I love the new route. Is it going to be the same? Well, it's virtual again. I just wanted to ask her, is it a virtual run again this year?
It's virtual, and it's 4 weeks of challenges so that we can kind of, experience together safely apart.
Perfect. Excellent. No, we're looking forward to it. And, we'll just keep the trophy here. No problem. Yeah.
Well, we've got some making up to do at the town of Newmarket. So I certainly know that, we just spent a ton of time for, the coldest night of the year. So
yes, you did. Congratulations.
I suspect Aurora's going to hang on to the title, but challenge you anyway.
That's right. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Kelly, for presenting and representing the South Lake Run this year. I found that in this past 10 months or so with COVID, we've received or experienced the unexpected, and in speaking with a few charities, some charities have received more donations in this COVID year than prior years. And I found that very incredulous, and it shows the generosity of not just our community in Newmarket, Aurora, but throughout Canada. And so now I forget what the foundation or the run raised last year. Do you know what the run raised this year and what the goal is sorry if it's that information, what the goal is for this year. And I was just curious to see whether we're anticipating, record amounts, this year compared to last year and pre-COVID.
Yeah,
Given the environment.
I don't have the numbers, but if you go to runwalkforsouthlake.ca,
Sure.
information is there. My purpose here was really just to kick off the Mayor's Challenge and
Sure.
may the competition begin.
Well, thank you. And I'll be sure to look at it, and I'm sure we will beat Newmarket's butt again this year.
I unfortunately am gonna have to agree, but you never know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Councillor Thompson?
Kelly, thanks for being here tonight and making the presentation. I've also had the honor in the past of being on the committee and making presentations to other municipalities as well. And just, it's so important, these events, the run and the other things that the foundation do. I know that when I sat on the committee, we talked all the time about the fact that, while the province does give dollars for the operation of the hospital, repair and placement and equipment, this is the responsibility of the foundation, the hospital, and the community around. And so, congratulations on being part of the committee, and look forward to another successful event, and hope to be part.
Great. I look forward to seeing all your photos on social media.
Thanks.
Any other comments or questions? Councillor Gardner?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And what Councillor Thompson said is so important, because governments support bricks and mortar, but I think the communities are responsible for about 80% of the other costs, and that's a lot of money. So thanks for spreading the word.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. And I just want to echo what everybody's saying for coming and introducing this to us here in the community. I can't wait to promote and participate. The first time I participated was a mother-daughter run, at least for me anyway, and it was a really great experience. So, hopefully I can rope her in and we'll do that again and help raise some money. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Gallo, I might as well ask since
I would be repeating what everyone else said. Support, and thank you for coming, Councillor Broom.
You're welcome, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. Kelly, thank you for coming. Thank you for representing not only the town of Newmarket, but also our hospital, Southlake. It's an important initiative, and I think that one that we all get behind, and it's great that we all get out there and are supportive of it. And I once again accept the challenges I did last year. And I'm looking forward to making sure that even though I haven't been in the office that much, I'm looking forward to making sure that trophy stays in that office for another year. So even though it's a fun thing to challenge, to have the Mayor's Challenge, it's for a great cause, and it's for, as I said, it's for our hospital. So thank you for coming out and issuing that challenge, and we accept.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for taking the time to see me this evening, and good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye now.
Mr. Clerk, call the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record a vote to receive the community presentation. Councillor Gallo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
And Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll move to delegations. Council, all three delegations are written. If there are no objections, and Mr. Clerk, if you're okay with this as well, I would suggest that they're all going to be, because they're written, they're all going to be read by our clerk. I will just say what it is about. The clerk will read it, and once we're done all three, we'll put one motion on the floor to receive them and refer them to the items. And that way we're not doing three different recorded votes. If everyone's okay with that? Okay, so we'll move to the first delegation, 5.1, which is in regards to motion 9.3, backyard urban hens. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Starting with the delegation of Mark Mantha right now. To the Town of Aurora Council, management, and staff, my name is Mark Mantha. I was your neighbor, a resident of Newmarket for many years. Thank you for kindly considering a pilot project for backyard hens in the Town of Aurora. It was some years ago when I approached the Town of Newmarket about the growing interest in the community for residents to care for backyard hens. It's wonderful how we are reconnecting with food and healthy lifestyle. People are gardening in record numbers, and backyard hens enrich a progressive community. At what would be my last deputation on the matter, all those years ago to the Town of Newmarket Council, it was John Taylor, then regional councillor, who presented a motion that carried unanimously to conduct a pilot project. Pilot projects are the best path to due diligence by being able to observe and report firsthand a very manageable sampling. A pilot project also provides everyone the opportunity to learn and better understand backyard hens. It was a wonderful experience. We collaborated, cooperated, and learned what was possible. I wish you all the best with this endeavor. Best regards, Mark Mantha.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next delegation, 5.2, from Miriam Klein-Leher, resident representing the motion 9.3, backyard hen, urban hens. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Starting the delegation from Ms. Lear right now. Myself and many Aurorans on the community chat known as Next Door have been discussing the pilot project for backyard hens. Many of us have done our research and we feel Aurora would greatly benefit from hen coops and private backyards. Many of our neighboring towns and cities have successfully launched pilot projects in their backyards with great success. Myself and my family are not keen on factory farms. Urban hens are a more ecological answer to the way we get our food to the table. Hens in a community bring citizens and family together as well. This year has been challenging, and this will help my family start a wonderful, life-changing project. We all want to do it. Plus, they make great little companions.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll move to the next one. Is 5.3. It's written delegation from Antonio Masongsong, resident, regarding the motion 9.5 vibration study for intensification projects. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Starting Mr. Masongsong's delegation now. To whom this may concern, please be advised that I am in full support of the motion below as suggested by Councillor Rachel Gilliland and would like this email to be read on the record. I have completed the attached form to be included in tonight's council meeting. This motion is much needed in Aurora, where there are old houses in the vicinity of new construction. Thank you very much for your immediate attention. Tony Masongsong.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So council, someone like to move all three written delegations to receive and refer to the items? Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Gilliland. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record vote for receiving and referring the three written delegations on this evening's agenda. Mayor Maracus, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
And Councillor Humphreys.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So council will move to consent agenda. Are there any items in the consent agenda? Anyone has any questions or they would like it pulled? Otherwise, I'll ask for a motion to approve 6.1 to 6.6. Someone like to move that? Councillor Kim, second by Councillor Humphreys. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record a vote for the items on the consent agenda this evening. Councillor Gardner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
And Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Move to standing committee reports. Is there any items the council would like pulled? Councillor Gilliland.
Yes, item 7.2.8.
That 7.2.8. Councillor, is that what you said? 7.2.8?
Correct.
Thank
Yes.
you. Councillor Gallo?
7.2.64. and 7.27.
So 7.2.6 and 7.2.7.
7.26.
Yeah.
And 7.27.
Yeah, so the winter roads maintenance and debt financing. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none. Can I get a motion to approve the remaining items on the standing committee report? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gilliland. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion, recorded vote for the motion for all the items not pulled from the standing committee reports this evening. Councillor Kim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Humphries?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you. And Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Council will move to items requiring discussion. We'll start with 7.2.6, winter roads maintenance. Recommendation from General Committee was that the report number OPS 21-007 be received. 2, that the current winter maintenance service level standards remain unchanged. 3, that upon the conclusion of the current winter roads maintenance contract in April of 2021, the town enter into a new contract for the delivery of road winter maintenance for 4 of the town's road plow routes. And 4, that when one additional winter roads maintenance route is implemented, it be conducted in-house by the Operational Services Department. And 5, that the contracted vehicles do not exceed 8 model years of age at any time during the life of the contract. Councillor Gallo, you pulled this one. Would you like to move that recommendation?
I'd like to make an amendment.
Well, if you'd like to make a amendment, that's fine. How about you move it and I'll get a seconder and then you can make the amendment.
Sure.
Is that fine? Okay, so I got Councillor Gallo moving that. Someone like to second that recommendation? Councillor Gilliland, thank you. Councillor Gallo, floor is yours.
Just based on our discussion last week, I'd mentioned item 4, just questioning the need for that right now. And it's basically adding a winter road when we add a winter road maintenance route.
Right.
But it be conducted in-house by the Operational Services Department. I'd like to move that we remove that one. And when that does happen, that we have that discussion, we have a report, we have all the financials that's linked to it to make sure we're making a proper decision. I don't think it's necessary to have that recommendation tonight. It's years away from what we understood last week. So I'd like to move that we remove item 4.
And we remove it.
Yeah, until
Yeah.
that new route is there, then we can have that discussion.
Okay, and I'm just wondering procedurally, let me just add, Mr. Clerk, remove it, or is it better off just having it fail if we want it removed?
Mr. Mayor, to you and to Councillor Gallo, I wonder if the best way forward might be to refer clause 4 back to staff and then continue on with clauses 1 to 3 and 5 for a vote.
Actually, I mean, and Councillor Gallo, I was gonna say, how about we refer it back to staff and or refer back to staff to report back to council once an additional winter roads maintenance route is implemented?
Yeah.
Would that work?
That's exactly what I wanted.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, did you get that? That's the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay. Someone like to second that amendment? Councillor Kim? Thank you. Any other comments or questions to the amendment? Councillor Thompson, to the amendment.
Thank you. Through you to Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, just to clarify, is there any advantage when we go out to tender of having that route included now as opposed to a few years from now?
Mr. Downey?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening. What we do is we would put an additional route in the tender so that we'd have some idea what the cost of that additional route would be. And then when and if we needed that route, then that information would be available in that staff report. So we have no objection to the direction council's taking.
Great, perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions to the amendment? Seeing none, does everyone know what the amendment is? Or do I need? No? Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the amendment on the floor is that clause 4 be referred back to staff for report when the route becomes necessary. And we have mover and seconder. So Councillor Gilliland, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
And Councillor Gallo.
Yes.
The amendment carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Back to the main motion as amended. Any other comments? Councillor Gallo, did you want to continue or just call the vote? Call the vote? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the other clauses as part of the winter maintenance report being clauses 1, 2, 3, and 5. Councillor Gallo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
And Councillor Gardner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll move to 7.2.7, debt financing for projects with 2021 debt authority. The recommendation from General Committee is 1, that report number FIN 21-007 be received, and 2, that the use of a construction line of credit up to a maximum value of $8.2 million to fund the Stronach Aurora Recreation Complex Gymnasium project during its construction be approved, and 3, that up to a maximum of $8.2 million in long-term debt authority for the refinancing of the construction line of credit in the form of a 20-year debenture be issued upon the SARC Gymnasium project substantial completion, and 4, that $3.375 million in long-term debt authority for the financing of the construction of the Hallmark baseball diamonds in the form of a 20-year debenture be issued, and 5, that council enact the SARC Gymnasium's project's interim long-term debt financing bylaw at a future council meeting, and 6, that council enact the Hallmark baseball diamonds project's long-term debt financing bylaw at a future council meeting, and 7, that upon finalization of the SARC Gymnasium project's long-term financing plan, an informational report be provided to council which outlines the details of such, including interest rates and net cost of borrowing. Councillor Gallo, you pulled this. Would you like to move the recommendation?
No, I can't.
Would anyone like Councillor Thompson, who would like to second that? Councillor Kim, Councillor Gallo, floor is yours.
I just want to vote on it separately, Mr. Mayor. I want to pull it and vote on it separately.
Okay.
So.
Perfect. Did you want as a whole, or did you want anyone's separate from, or as a whole?
As a whole for me, if anyone else wants to.
Okay. All right. Is there any comments or questions then before I call the vote? No? Okay. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for item 7.2.7 on this evening's agenda. Councillor Humphreys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
No.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
And Councillor Gardner.
No.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. 7.2.8, capital project number 14047, computer and related infrastructure renewal. The recommendation from General Committee that report number CS 21-014 be received for information. Councillor Gilliland, you pulled this one. Did you like to move that? Thank you. Second, Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Gilliland, floor is yours.
Thank you. And I'm fine with receipt for information. I just have some questions through Mr. Mayor to Ms. Van Leeuwen. I noticed a breakdown, which I think is great. I just have some questions about the breakdown of the laptops. Some of them, they range from 3 to 5 years, which is an improvement. Although I do have some questions about the three years and some of the justification behind that. And there's still a lot of 4-year. I'm just have a struggle with that because, you know, my own experience being print and graphic, you know, I've had my computer for probably 7 years running Photoshop graphic designs, and I haven't had to refresh mine after 3 years. So I'm just really struggling with the high-end laptop HP ZBook every 3 years. And if that is something that's a necessity, I'm really just trying to understand the process and passing this, if this is something we pass, if that means that as soon as that 3rd year comes up, we just automatically go and buy, or does this mean that this is just going to be an assessment and we look and make that assessment of whether or not we can still hang on for a couple of years or not?
Ms. Van Leeuwen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this was a response to council's questions last week from Michael Mulvena in terms of a proposed refresh cycle, but I would like to report back further. We're not recommending that we move forward with this at this point in time, and I would like the opportunity to report back to council and provide the data, financial modeling, and the validation in terms of why some users may require a more robust life cycle refresh.
Councillor?
Thank you. All right, so I'm happy to wait for that to come to council with a report, just stating my comments based on what we've seen since GC and the information you provided. That I still think it needs some work, so I'm happy to receive.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Ms. Van Leeuwen, thank you very much for the email you sent out to everybody yesterday, sort of explaining the additional information we were looking for, as well as Mr. Mulvena's thoughts with regards to the life cycle. I know within that email you had asked the council to consider amending the report recommendation to include the condition of the approval of the capital projects for this year's refresh, and also indicating that staff would report back to council regarding the lifecycle management strategy for laptops and desktops. I'm comfortable to amend the recommendation to just receive to what was suggested by Ms. Van Leeuwen. I think it addresses the issues that council raised with regards to life cycle and the timelines associated with the various ones. Mr. Mulvena has sort of broken it out for different stages, but would certainly come with more information. And staff are just requesting a refresh for 2021, those that were slated. And within that report that she circulated, they were all 6 or 7 years old. So, unless there are objections, I'd like to see the recommendation that Ms. Van Leeuwen emailed to us yesterday put on the floor.
An amendment?
Yes.
Someone like to second that? Councillor Humphreys? Mr. Clerk, do you got that?
Do you, Mr. Mayor? Yes, we have the copy of the email, so we'll put the clauses 2 and 3 from that email up as the amendment.
Yes, could we put that up? Councillor Thompson, did you want to speak to it? Or you're anymore, or you're fine?
I already did.
Thank you. So I'll just wait for it to pop up. Councillor Humphreys, did you want to speak to the amendment, or did you want to speak to the original? The amendment? Okay. Did you want to speak to it? You can speak to it.
Sure.
We don't have to wait for it to go up while you speak.
Okay, no, I agree. The information was forwarded to us from Ms. Van Leeuwen, and that it does fulfill some of the information that we required, and a 6-year-old laptop isn't going to do anyone any good. If some are working well, like they stated, they will move forward, but if others need it, we need everyone to be productive and performing their jobs at 100%. So I can tell you my laptop's 2 years old and it's crapping out on me already. So it all depends on the user and so I don't want anyone to have any opportunity, any lack of production problems and getting their job done because their laptop's not working. So I appreciate the judgment call in the 6-year event. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland to the amendment.
Oh, I'm off mute. Yes, I just want to ensure what the amendment says. This in particular in just to 2021 for the 5 and 6-year-old computers I'm talking about. I just
Mr.
don't see
Clerk?
the amendment up.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the amendment to come up.
My apologies, Mr. Mayor. We are having some technical difficulties, it would seem, but I can read the text of the, oh, there we go.
Oh, here it comes. So that the condition on the approval of capital project number 14047, computer and related infrastructure renewal in the amount of 660,361 be lifted and the project proceed. And 2, that staff report back to council regarding the life cycle management strategy for laptops and desktops. Councillor Gilliland?
So it doesn't really specify that they're coming back to the life cycle, from 2022 on. So, I mean, I'm looking at, what she's asked for 2021 fiscal year only, which I don't have a problem with at 5 and 6 years old, but there's really nothing specific in that amendment that says moving forward, reporting back regarding the life cycle management strategy for laptops and desktops from 2022 moving forward. I would like to see that specified. And then I don't really have a problem with this amendment at all.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes, Mayor.
Did you want to add that little bit from concerns from Councillor Gilliland?
Sure. So it's technically for laptops issued or purchased in 2018. So we're talking about the 2022 budget cycle.
Yes.
Oh, and we're talking about computers that are purchased from 2018 onwards. That's fine.
Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Duran, do we need to add that into it, or is Ms. Van Leeuwen, will you take that as direction? Or Mr. Clerk?
It's clearly indicated in the email and in the information Ms. Van Leeuwen circulated. So I think that's the assumption for sure, but happy to add it if it gets everybody unanimous approval.
Okay. I'll go to Councillor Gallo, and then I'll come back to you, Councillor Thompson, if we need to. Councillor Gallo?
Yeah, I'd like to see it in there, and I'm happy to approve it, provided that wording is in there. I have no problems as long as it's there.
Okay. So, Councillor Thompson, you're okay with adding that?
That's fine. Yep.
Okay. And Councillor Humphries, you seconded that. Are you okay with that?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, do you have that?
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's just, so we'll add that, that report back on life cycle for laptops purchased in 2018 or after.
Is that the wording we're looking for? I see Councillor Gilliland nodding her head. That's good.
That's fine.
Okay. Everyone's good?
Perfect. We
Okay.
will add that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the amendment? Councillor Gallo again, second time?
Sorry, we're not just asking for a report back on those. We're giving authority to move ahead with the laptops from 2018, the 6-year cycle. We're not just asking for a report back on. There's two things there.
Okay. I'm going to go to Councillor Thompson. It's your amendment. Can you clearly?
Councillor Gallo can clarify. I mean, second clause really only deals with what was proposed for the 2021 budget. So those were those items that were identified to refresh, primarily according to the list Ms. Van Leeuwen provided to us. It was, computers and desktops and so forth that were 5, 6 years or more older. And then going forward for 2022, for that budget cycle, my understanding is that staff would bring forward a report that would speak to the life cycle management strategy for laptops and desktops and would tier it as was suggested last time. So though, according to that list, was anything that was purchased in 2018 or later. So, if Councillor Gallo wants to amend it, I'm not sure what he's looking for.
Councillor Gallo, I'll go back to you.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had it up, but there's two things there, and I agree with everything that Councillor Thompson said. I just don't see that in the resolution. The second part, in terms of the life cycle reporting back, is there. It's been mentioned. The refresh in the 2021 year, unless I'm mistaken, I didn't see that. just want to make sure we're giving authority for 2021 year and the refresh for those that are indicated.
So and I guess Councillor Thompson or Ms. Van Leeuwen can correct me if I'm wrong, the way I'm reading it, and I guess, Mr. Clerk, if we can get it up as I'm speaking, so everyone can see it, so we have a clear understanding. My understanding is that the first clause is what speaks to getting what currently we need to get done, because we're lifting the hold on the project and moving forward with it. The second clause is about bringing back and looking at the strategy for laptops and desktops moving forward. So that's the way I'm reading it. But if I'm reading it wrong, is that correct, Ms. Van Leeuwen?
To you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So we're requesting that the lifting of the conditional approval so we can move forward to replace critical infrastructure and refresh our 2015-2016 laptops and desktops this year. And then report back with a strategy on how we move forward with our refresh cycle and with a tiered approach based on data, financial modeling, and validation in terms of user requirements.
Councillor Gallo?
So just clarification, if it is the 660,000 only for the 2021 year?
Ms. Van Leeuwen?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. But it's not just desktops and laptops. It's a backup appliance. It's our telephony system. It's switches that are, and all of those infrastructure is at end of life. Like our switches are over 10 years old. They're no longer supported. The telephony system is 15 years old and is on a best effort support right now. So we need to move forward to reduce risk of loss of data, loss of connectivity, service disruption.
That's fine. I just wanted to know if that was just for the 2021 year. And if it is, that's fine. I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Humphries to the amendment a second time.
Yeah, just to the amendment. Then thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just I think you might remember the conversation last time we spoke about this, that the computer, PC, laptops, and infrastructure telephony was put together, and staff I think heard that. I think next time they'll probably break it down into like, you know, hardware for PC and then infrastructure and telephony separately. That's why we're probably a little bit confused at the amount of budget that's for that. But yeah, absolutely understand why it's a little confusion, but I'm in support of this motion amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions to the amendment? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the amendment of item 7.2.8 on this evening's agenda. Councillor Gardner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Humphries?
Yes.
Mayor Marakis?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
And Councillor Gallo.
Yes.
Amendment carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Back to the main motion as amended. Any comments to the main motion as amended? Call the vote, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record vote for the main motion as amended for 7.2.8. Mayor Marakis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Humphries?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
And Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So we'll move to motions. And our first motion up, just pulling it up here, is dangerous one-way street, Center Street, from Councillor Humphries. So
Move that. Can I get a seconder?
Councillor Gardner. Councillor Humphries.
Thank you so much, fellow colleagues. This has been an issue kind of around for some time now. So there's a little stretch on Center Street going between Spruce to the north section of Wells Street. And it's a very small piece of the road. And that was all sort of part of the one-way infrastructure that we created for traffic flow. And what's happening in this area, because it's such a short little stretch, many vehicles decide to just run through really quickly, get away with it, having to avoid doing any of the things that we wanted the residents to do with the traffic flow. So a resident tried doing a few things. It's tough to really understand what would the best plan of action would be to address this concern. So I went out and I met with the resident and Michael Batts. I want to thank you very much for allowing staff to meet me out there with the resident. And, it's a one-way street. So it was perfect timing, I guess, for the resident. I decided to walk out onto the street. It was one way. I wasn't worried about the I won't say what type of truck business it was that ran it. And I had to back up. I was like, wow, so this is what you're talking about. She goes, exactly. So she's kind of pleased that I had that experience. I wasn't, but so I understood. Now, while we were standing there, several cars did the same thing. And what they do is they sort of look around and they speed, and they don't even care that people are there watching. As long as the police isn't there, they're going to take a chance to avoid this whole sort of flow that we would like them to take. So understanding that, Michael has come back, during our discussion, with some pretty good suggestions. One is some more signage. Clearly, when you get towards the one way, that you can't get in here. It's a little bit of an issue with where the sign is right now. There's a big tree kind of blocking a little bit of it. He wants to be able to move it forward, and he has some ideas for traffic calming. Traffic calming, you get a lot of deterrence. So when some vehicles come forward and they see that there's some things that are going to slow them down, they can't speed through, they may, in fact, do the right thing and not cause any serious problems or hurt residents in this very small stretch. So I'm just hoping that my peers would be supportive for staff to look at this again and come back with a recommendation as to what we can do to provide this little stretch some safety. Certainly does not pass any warrants, in terms of traffic and the standard types of warrants. But again, this was just a very small stretch that we did to try to effectively have traffic flow the way we wanted it to move forward, and causing this really little bit of a dangerous stretch. And we certainly don't want anything tragic to happen. So you will allow staff to take a peek at this and see if they can come back with a good solution to address this.
Thank you, Councilor Humphries. And Councilor Gardner, before I go to you, I forgot to read the therefore clause, so I'll just read that out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. So now therefore be it hereby resolved that staff be directed to review this issue and determine the best traffic calming measures and traffic deterrent to prevent vehicles driving the wrong way on a one-way street and report back to council before the end of March 2021. Councilor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Humphries. I tried my best, and I can see that it certainly didn't solve the solution. There is a new sign was put on the corner of Yonge and Center saying it's a one-way.
Good.
I thought that would help, but I guess people are just going to, do what they're going to do to make it easier for themselves. The only thing that really would help would be a police presence. And I don't think that we can ask the police to use their manpower for this. So thanks to Mr. Batt, and I hope we can come up with something, because it's very unpleasant for the residents. And it's really just one block, but it's there are residents who are experiencing trouble. So I hope that we can come up with a better solution. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Gardner. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Gilliland.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor, to planning, whoever's there. I believe we did have a report back on mitigation ideas, solutions. One was increased signs, I believe, and then there were some others that I don't really quite remember. But are we asking for any other different solutions than what we already got last time, Mr. Waters?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Gillen's referring to June of 2020, I believe, where we brought forward 3 options for consideration to council, and council decided to pick option C, which was, as Councillor Gartner had mentioned, not a thorough street sign was posted at Yonge Street on the entrance to Center. So that was the last time we reported on this item.
Councillor?
Thank you. And so the other 2 options, do you remember what those other options were?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't specifically remember them, but I know they were debated by committee, and the decision was to go with option option C, which was a signage.
Councillor?
Thank you. So is this kind of like a reconsideration to go back and revisit these options that were already brought forward then? Like, I'm just trying to understand the process, because I feel like we've already got the options that were given to us. I don't know if is there some other new option that staff is going to be able to present to us other than what was presented then? I'm just trying to wrap my head around what we're asking you guys to do over and above what we've already received last June.
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't believe speed cushions were on the table last time around. So, I mean, there was signage that was discussed as part of the previous options, but as I said, I don't believe speed cushions were one of the options reviewed. But I mean, essentially, that's kind of what we're looking at here is introducing speed cushions, maybe some additional signage that are related to the speed cushions. I mean, I guess I'm hearing is we've got to slow the speed down and make it uncomfortable for people to do a quick wrong way drive up the street.
Councillor?
Thank you. And I guess that was what I was getting at, is whether or not there is something new to bring to the table, which sounds like there is. So I'm okay if there's some other solutions. I just kind of thought we kind of covered all our solutions in June and decided that was the best course of action. So if there is something else that we can do to actually make it safer and there's other solutions to bring forward, I'm definitely open to hearing what staff brings back.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Humphrey, second time.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to add that, yeah, I understand where Councillor Gilland is coming from. We did get a report, but what happened was, I think, just some further, I guess, disappointment from the residents, and one in particular who was really concerned. And I think what happened, it's just strange, and maybe it's just one of those things where you almost have to live there to see it. But what happened right in front of staff, and what happened, it was very shocking. So, and again, remember, it failed all the warrants before because there isn't enough traffic going through. Like if you look at the regular traffic calming, it just doesn't match. But to see what this little stretch is, it's evident that it needs something. So I think it just was timing, and sort of one of those long discoveries in terms of what we really need to do. And I think I hopefully staff will take another quick look at this and come up with a good, uncomfortable traffic calming measure to deter some of those super quick drivers that want to get where they want to go but can hurt someone or worse. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gardner, second time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, I'm surprised nobody's talked about precedent. But I think that when we have special situations like this, we have to be very clear that this is not a precedent-setting issue, because we've denied speed bumps, so many times because there aren't the warrants. I'd like to ask Mr. Waters, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but we always go with speed cushions. In this area, could we do a speed bump? Or something that I'll just pass that on to investigate, because speed cushions don't seem to do a lot.
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we can look at, I thought they're one and the same, but I guess they're not. So
No.
we'll definitely investigate both options. And, maybe one is higher than the other, which, you can't sort of run over very quickly. The other thing I would request is that we're in the second cycle now of March in terms of reviewing reports. So if we could change the delivery date to either end of April or the beginning of May. Thank you.
Councillor Garner?
Thank you. Does that need to be an amendment?
I'll go to Councillor Humphries if she wants to change that. And if it
Well,
can.
not only the speed bumps, but also the timing.
The timing one I'll need, but the speed bumps will just come back in a report, like in that report. So the timing, I'll ask Councillor Humphries if she's okay with it.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. And I hear what Mr. Waters is saying. I'm just concerned with timing in terms of by the time it comes back to us, will they even get in before the end of summer? Then you have to wait another year for winter to go past. So it could even happen like a year and a half from now. I'm just really concerned unless we can get an answer end of April and implementation. Hopefully staff come up with a great idea and get it done for this summer. That would be wonderful. I just would hate another year to go by.
Agreed.
That's my only concern.
Okay, so before I ask you if you want to make that change, Councillor, Mr. Waters, if it's changed to April, and we get a report come back in April and council approves whatever measure it is, will it be implemented? Could it be implemented by the summertime or by fall at latest?
To you, Mr. Mayor, I don't see a problem with that at all.
Okay, thank you.
No
Councillor
problem.
Humphries,
No
you're
problem.
good? So you're okay to change that to April?
Yes.
Mr. Waters, April's good?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
End of April.
That's good.
Yes, end of April. Thank you. And seconder, Councillor Garner, you're okay with April?
Yes, as soon as Mr. Waters can get it back.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comments or questions on this motion? If not, I'll let Councillor Humphries, did you want to finish up?
I wanted to say thank you very much. I hope we can move forward with this quickly and hopefully have a solution for this small section of our town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record a vote for the first motion, 9.1 on this evening's agenda with the small friendly amendment that rather than the report back in March of 2021, the report would come back in April. Councillor Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
And Councillor Humphries.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Council, next one is garbage bag tag policy. The clause is now therefore be it hereby resolved that staff be directed to report back to council with a garbage bag tag policy to be implemented as soon as possible. As this is from both Councillor Kim and myself, I will remain in the chair and Councillor Kim can take the lead and move it. So Councillor Kim, would you like to move your motion?
Sure, I'll move the motion.
Thank you. Would someone like to second that? Councillor Gardner, thank you. Councillor Kim, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have too much to say other than last fall, if my fellow council members recall, we did a hard stop on 3 bags. We've always had a 3-bag limit rule, but it was a very flexible one because GFL and their predecessors went by weight, and so they gladly picked up more garbage bags. We had a November, education, month where staff did their best to educate and market this hard stop with 3 bags. And, I stated at that time that we should have a bag tagging policy or the ability for residents to buy a tag, especially during certain seasons like spring cleaning or prior to the winter, they want to throw away some stuff. It wouldn't go against some of our environmental focus in terms of we want to reuse and recycle as much as we can. And it also, the tags answer the challenges of some seniors or residents don't want to put smelly garbage in their back trunk of a passenger sedan and lug it all the way to a dump for their fourth garbage bag. And certainly not every resident have cars or a pickup truck to make that trip. So it just seems the most pragmatic solution is to have a tag system. We put a price tag on that. And so that's the genesis of Mayor Maraxis and my motion. And in terms of the tag systems, there's multiple ways of programming the tag system. You can either have there's 26 deliveries, so you times that by 3, you get 78 tags. And you put a sticker on every garbage throughout the year. So sometimes you might only have one, so you might be able to carry forward that sticker for subsequent garbage cycles, or you can just buy one tag for each cycle when you need it. So there's a lot of options out there, and so this motion is asking staff to look at those options and see which is the best solution for Aurora. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor, who do I have next? Councillor Humphreys.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank you both, Mr. Mayor and Councillor Kim, for bringing this forward. I know that, some of the residents were a little concerned, in particular, dual residents, for example, they have a rental apartment within their home or residence. So looking for a little bit of opportunity there. So maybe that can be considered, or maybe you just have to pay regardless of how many families are in the residence. But thank you very much. I really appreciate this going. Looking forward to the report coming back, because there are some residents say, what if we're doing a spring cleaning? What if we're doing a big move, or someone's moving out, my children are moving out, and so on. So it does leave, in some circumstance, a challenge. But I also appreciate very much us going to a 3-bag limit, because it does truly force a strong view at recycling. I believe that. So in any case, this allows both that focus, and when we need more garbage bags for the right reasons, hopefully we'll have an opportunity on how to smoothly get that done. So thank you very much. I appreciate this coming forward.
Thank you, Councillor Humphreys. Councillor Thompson, next.
Thank you. Through to Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, if this motion passes, just in terms of your thoughts about next step, are you going to come back with a report that sort of provides, a general overview of what municipalities do in general? Because when I do a bit of a scan of the various municipalities out there, lots of them use, obviously, garbage bag tags, but there doesn't seem to be any one model that everybody adopts to. Some provide more, some provide less, some provide free tags, some provide only pay tags. And so will you provide a little bit of an overview to give council a general understanding of what's out there, along with options and or recommendations? Is that how you see this progressing?
Mr. Downey?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question, Councillor Thompson. Yes, we will be providing council with some options. We'll also be providing some stats, because we have been keeping stats with regards to the effects of the 3-bag limit. And as you know, when we brought it forward, our goal was to reduce the amount of solid waste going into our landfill. And I can tell you, we, based on the numbers that are provided already, we have reduced our landfill from year to year by 31%. We have a 5-year low in the amount of garbage going into the landfill. In the last 5 years, we've never put so little garbage in the landfill. So it's had a very positive impact. There are some challenges, and I think that we need to address those challenges, and then the report will address some of those challenges. Secondary dwelling units are an issue, and people want to know how we can deal with secondary dwelling units more effectively. So I believe the bag tag system will help with that. So we will be providing some options. As you know, Aurora has the highest bag limit, or or is equal to the highest bag limit within the York region. And so no one has more than 3 bags. And so we are already at the upper level. However, there are opportunities or there are situations where people may want to put out more bags, and this report will help address those things. But I am very happy to say that we've had a very dramatic impact in just the first month.
Councillor?
And that's wonderful. And that was sort of my follow-up question, because I agree, you know, as a whole, strategically, we've made a commitment to reduce waste and continue to look at ways to do that. We all know there's a cost to it, as well as just not just a financial perspective, but from a social perspective as well. And so, you know, I would also be interested in seeing within that report any evidence or anecdotal information that supports, you know, a bag tag policy as being able to further, you know, reduce waste or not, whatever the you know, data out there might suggest. Because I'd be interested in knowing how this can help us further align with our strategic goals and commitments when it comes to the reduction of waste in the environment. So look forward to the report and the discussion that will ensue when we get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson asked all the questions I need, so I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I agree with everything everybody has said, including what Mr. Downey said, which we discussed last go round. And I think there was mentioned that we could revisit this if we wanted to. And so it's good that we have. I don't know many seniors or any seniors that would produce more than 3 bags of garbage, but maybe Mr. Kim knows different seniors than I do. But the feedback I got, and I don't know if you all got it, was from somebody who had quite a large family. So there will be families that have more than one generation, and you know, they need that. The other thing is, I'm just going to throw it out to the director. For homes that have registered secondary dwelling units, or maybe it would to Ms. Van Leeuwen, for homes that have registered secondary dwelling units, I don't think we should be charging them for extra bags of garbage, because they are providing affordable housing. I don't know if that would be too hard to orchestrate, and I don't know how many registered dwellings we have, but I think it would be fair not to charge those dwelling units.
Mr. Downey?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So as I said, one of the challenges that we're having right now with the system are legal secondary dwelling units. So there's a variety of different ways in order to deal with that. Bag tags can be one of those systems. And what we would do would, one of the options that we provide to council was to provide tags to those residents so that they could tag the bags, the additional bags. So if you had 3 dwelling units, you would be able to put out 9 bags. And so 6 of those bags would be tagged. There's also a system where you could actually put an icon on the building itself and identify the number of dwelling units on that icon. And then when GFL or the garbage collector comes to that site, they are aware that there are 4 dwelling units or two dwelling units and can do the math and pick up the bags. One of the challenges we're having is with illegal secondary dwelling units, and people having a concern that the apartment dwellers are not able to put out the bags, and so that is continuing to be an issue. And we are providing information to those residents with regards to how to make those dwelling units legal, and the process in which to go through in order to make that happen. But right now we are looking at about a 4% non-compliance. So we're very happy with the campaign that we put forward. It was a 3-month campaign, started in October. And so residents have responded extremely well. And the bag tag system, as they say, will address some of the issues related primarily to secondary dwelling units.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Downey. And this was first brought, legal secondary dwelling units was first brought forward by Councillor Wallace. And I believe that he had seen a very unfortunate fire in an illegal secondary dwelling unit. So one of the reasons we want to make them legal is so that they will have fire inspections. So,
Councillor, I'm just going to ask you to kind of come
Yeah.
back towards garbage.
Yeah.
You're straying a little bit, but I
Thank
agree with
you.
you. Very, very important topic to
No,
discuss.
I agree.
but
It
we're
was
straight.
an opportunity to mention Councillor Wallace. I agree with everything everybody said, and I think it's a great initiative. And also to make it as easy and non-time consuming as possible for staff.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments or questions? I was just going to say a few things too. You know, when you do research and you look through it, you know, it is correct that you see a lot of the other municipalities, it's all over the place. Some municipalities have a pay as you throw. Some of them allow, Durham region allows 4 bags in all of Durham region. You know, Regional Waterloo, 4 bags. Dufferin County, 2 bags. Like it's just, the numbers are just all over the place. But there's one thing that's in common with almost every single municipality that provides a limit. And that's that there is a tag policy in place. The difference between some of them is, and as Councillor Kim mentioned it, some of them are you get a full amount for the full year. And I believe that's probably the best approach. I'll leave it up to staff, and I'm sure that's one of the options that will come forward. But I think that when if we provide everyone with a full amount for the year, so in our case, where we have a 3-bag limit, 26 weeks of garbage, you end up with 78 tags. And so you provide 78 tags to everyone, whether that's a legal secondary suite or every homeowner, and they have to stick a tag or a sticker on every single bag. And it becomes a very simple process for GFL and our waste diversion is that if you do not have a sticker, it does not get picked up. And you can still get extra tags on top of that. But this also, I believe, allows us to follow our, as was mentioned, our strategic goals as far as from an environmental perspective and waste diversion. It allows us from a yearly perspective, instead of saying we have a 3-bag limit, now we say we have 78, you have 78 bags for the year. And you can in turn, now a year after, we can look at it as Mr. Downey has mentioned, we can reevaluate and say that, you know what, we're finding that most people are not using 78. So maybe now we can reduce that to, and as some other municipalities do 42 bags a year, some of them do 52 bags a year. And so we can start to reduce the amount that we allow. So it allows us to achieve what we're trying to do, which is waste diversion. And I might add, and I know Mr. Downey mentioned 31% and threw out a lot of numbers, but I'll remind everyone, we are actually excelling when it comes to waste diversion. The region as a whole is 94% in waste diversion, which is an incredible number. So, but I think that we can achieve every year lowering that amount of bags as far as from a limit if we do move to a bag policy, tagging policy, that is one that we give a yearly amount and give them the tags straight up. I think that's, to me, that's my preferred method, but I'll, you know, I'm sure it's going to be one of those options, and I'm looking forward to when it comes. I think it resolves some of the issues from a secondary suite issue, because each legal secondary suite would get the tags, and they would just be able to put them on. The number one, as Mr. Downey mentioned, I've received those complaints as well, where they haven't picked up the garbage, and they have been identified as a legal secondary suite. And so the next morning, GFL goes out to make us a special trip to go pick up their garbage because it was left out. So we can avoid those types of issues from happening if we move to this type of a policy. So I'm looking forward to the report, to the options, and for us to make a decision on how we move forward and how we can continue to reduce waste in our municipality. Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Court vote for motion 9.2 on this evening's agenda. Councillor Humphreys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
And Councillor Gilliland.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Council will move to the next motion, 9.3, Councillor Gilliland, backyard urban hens. Clause is, now therefore be it hereby resolved that staff report back to council by the end of April 2021 on the feasibility of a pilot program to allow backyard chicken coops for the purposes of egg production and on the implications of such a pilot program. Councillor Gilliland, you'd like to move that? Thank you. Second. Councillor Gallo. Councillor Gilliland, floor is yours.
Thank you. And first, I just want to thank Mark Mantha and Miriam Klein for their letters of support. It's always so nice to hear from the public on matters that are important to them. And it was really nice to hear from the first person who was the original person who initiated this dialogue in Newmarket in front of their council, where then regional councillor and now mayor John Taylor had supported. So again, I really appreciate that. And thank you to Daryl Moore, who presented this opportunity to council in support of many Aurora residents who are also inquiring. So I appreciate that. So let's talk about urban hens. I just want to make it clear that this motion is really to explore the feasibility of a project and not to implement right away. And I know some of you may instantly conclude on some of the stigmas of raising hens, such as noise, odor, and attracting other animals, yet it's been proven to work in other municipalities such as Toronto, Newmarket, and Georgina. So I ask is let's find out why this worked. You see, I was skeptical too at first. So I decided to do a little digging, and I came across a quote from Toronto City staff member who oversees the pilot project there in the Toronto bylaw services, who said, "None of the predicted blights have materialized. The predicted chorus of neighbors and complaints, not a peep. There aren't any complaints about noise or unsanitary conditions at any of these locations with registered hens. We've made a couple of educational visits about coop sizes, but everything seems to be going smoothly." And after doing some further investigation, I learned that hens are also great pesticiders, eating mosquitoes, ticks, and fleas, herbiciders by eating and clearing unwanted vegetation, and organic fertilizer generators. I also learned in a report in Newmarket that public health research concurred that the quality maintenance of care is much like caring for other domestic pets. And this is which leads me to believe that raising chickens for the purpose of specifically for laying eggs is something people can do in a healthy and safe way. These urban backyard hens will produce sustainable organic non-GMO foods, offer an educational and therapeutic value for both kids and adults. This is not about raising roosters or chickens for meat. And if I could share some other interesting facts that I learned through this process, one was, did you know that hens only lay eggs when, start making noise when they lay eggs? And when they do, it's much quieter than a dog's bark. Did you know that one of the many rules in these municipalities requires permission from all abutting property owners? Did you know that rodents are not attracted to the hens, rather improperly stored feed or food scraps? And did you know you can buy a hen for as little as 12 bucks? I didn't. A Toronto owner said he had bought one for $12 in St. Jacobs, Ontario, and figures after the feed and expenses, he's paying about $1 per dozen homemade eggs. Now, I'm sure there's many great questions with pros and cons to both sides. However, in the meantime, please consider some of the benefits I've learned through this process. Organic, sustainable, non-GMO eggs, educational for the whole family, pest control such as ticks and mosquitoes, less food waste, acting as composter and offering natural fertilizer, stress relief, therapeutic, and offers companionship. I get my motion simply to report back with the feasibility of a pilot project, not to implement right away. I'm sure a public consultation will be part of that process recommended. This might not be for Aurora, but let's at least explore what those options may look like with the right rules in place. I'm certainly not claimed to be an expert on raising hens. All I ask is for your support and having staff report back to council with the information we need to decide if a pilot project is good for Aurora and give the public the opportunity to voice their opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gallo?
Thank you. Just really quickly, you have my support, Councillor Gilliland. I think it's a great idea. I'm actually quite excited about it. And the benefits to this are far and wide, and especially for children and how much they can learn. And there's many good reasons to do this. However, I think it's a good idea to have staff investigate, to come up with feasibility and a pilot project to see whether it fits our community. But before hearing any of that, I am in full support of this, and I think it's a great idea.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I appreciate Councillor Gilliland's motion to have staff conduct a feasibility study for egg-producing hens in residential neighborhoods. I don't question the merits of hens in the backyard and the benefits of them. I believe the idea and the whys of having egg-laying hens in residential areas it's a noble cause. One resident delegated back in January and gave ample responses to some of the fears out there regarding chickens in residential neighborhoods. However, I believe that the vast population of our town are not ready and do not want chickens at this time. People are just not ready to live next to a house where their backyard have chickens running around. Perhaps, within a few years of public education, or of course, sorry, perhaps with a few years of public education and marketing and communication, we'll get people's buy-in. But, given that there's plenty of existing feasibility studies, post-experience reports and other municipalities who have ventured forth in this area, and Councillor Gilliland mentioned a few of them, why do we need another feasibility study? Staff already has, according to the latest pending list, there's 32 on the pending list, and it took them a while to even get down to this number. We've all been proponents of developing efficiencies, valuing taxpayer funds, and time is money. We ask staff on their paid time to conduct various activities. Newmarket already allows for egg-laying hens in residential areas, and they already have detailed documentation. I think the motion's objective should be whether we support or not support residential chickens. I don't want to waste more time on studies. They are available. We either do this or we don't. There are two reasons why I put forward motions. Pragmatism, and there's empirical data that tells me that the majority of residents want this. Or B, I personally believe in the objective, program, task, or the activity. And I think most of us think this way. So if Councillor Gilliland is in support of chickens in residential neighborhoods, and I prefer that Councillor Gilliland change the motion and just put the actual item to a vote as to whether we allow egg-laying hens or not. So, let's vote on the key question instead of asking staff to do another feasibility study, because, it's been amply recorded that they're already out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. We all were present for when Daryl Moore, the resident, came forward and made a delegation with regards to the ask to consider the program, and appreciate Councillor Gilliland stepping up and putting forward the motion for council's discussion. But I've taken that time not only to look at Mr. Moore's presentation that he provided us, but look at those other communities that have done it, Newmarket and Toronto specifically, but there's a few more, and other research. There's plenty out there with regards to it, just to educate myself. And so, a couple things I discovered through that process, and, I'm not sure if all council's aware, but there actually are places in Aurora that are already zoned for backyard chickens. So through you to Mr. Waters, our previous discussion, where a zoning currently allows residents to have backyard chickens?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it is in the rural zones in the zoning bylaw, and those would be the ORM zone, the O zone, and the RU zone. The urban residential zones do not permit agricultural uses.
Councillor?
Thank you. And so, then it got me thinking that really we're talking about then running a pilot program in our stable neighborhoods, our downtown core, our historic district. And, we've all sat at the table and we've had conversations about people wanting to add a deck or do renovations to their homes. And we've had to design urban guidelines and so forth, just to deal with slight changes. But now we're talking about building a coop in somebody's backyard. And so the conversations I've had with residents, I've simply said to them, how would you feel if your neighbor put up a coop? And the vast majority of people I've spoken to don't want it next to them. And so I get that there may be individuals that want it themselves, but many neighbors don't want to see it in their neighborhood. And so, I'm cognizant of that. So in addition to not wanting to have, urban hens in our downtown core, since we're making a big investment in our downtown, I'm also concerned with the health risk. And so I've seen a number of different reports and studies with regards to health risks. The most relevant one that I found for myself was put out by Public Health Ontario. And it talks about reducing the health risks associated with backyard chickens. And it was written in 2017, so it's still fairly current. And it talks about the illnesses and outbreaks associated with exposure to backyard chickens and the ones that have been documented. And so we're talking about really salmonella and other infectious diseases associated with eggs and backyard poultry. And through the studies that they've documented here, I mean, between 1996 and 2014, there were almost 2,000 cases documented. Some led to hospitalization and in 5 cases deaths. But the report goes on to talk about all of the ways to mitigate and reduce that risk, which is great. But at the same time, we're living in the midst of an outbreak of a pandemic. And even though everybody takes as much precaution as they can, there's still a risk associated with it. And so, based on all that I've read and looked at, I don't see a report changing my mind. I think that, if we're going to do it, let it happen in the outlying regions of Aurora, in those rural areas, but I don't want it downtown. And I don't want the health risks associated with it. If anybody in council wants to see the studies, happy to email it to them. But, I appreciate Councillor Gilliland bringing it forward, but a report's not going to change my mind.
Thank you, Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, this one was interesting. I thought about it for quite some time. I think I appreciate Councillor Gilliland bringing this forward. We had a very passionate resident who was excited for his son to try the opportunity. And I never really even thought about chicken backyard coops until he came forward. So I started, asking around, doing a little bit of research myself. First of all, I've had firsthand experience when I was a little girl, and I know that I did speak to Councillor Gilliland briefly. That was back in the 80s, but it was not good for our neighbors. They were very upset with us, and unfortunately, we didn't just lay the eggs of those chickens. That was back then. This is not what this program's all about if it moves forward. But what I'm concerned about, for me, I started thinking about different things, and what I'm concerned about is really who could benefit from this program. And it does mention that you have to have a sufficient yardage to do this. And to me, it doesn't provide an equality for all the residents to participate. This is one of those things that if we allow it, then only certain, homes can have it with enough room in their backyard. And the real crux of this motion is that it's just, what I'd like to see is that everyone can participate, but from studies shown in Toronto and other areas that have implemented this, that there has to be enough yard setbacks to have this type of program. One of the things that I see, is, okay, what about, for food, food insecurity? Like, I do a lot of work with Welcoming Arms. We did the Dream Team at Christmas time. And we served over 225 meals to people. And I would bet that those individuals don't have the space to have a coop, to raise chickens, to lay eggs, beautiful, beautiful eggs, and enjoy them. They just don't have that space. So for me, I guess the way I'm looking at this is we just want to have everyone being able to participate. I did read the staff report. Like I heard that City of Toronto implemented this. I think Councillor Gilliland mentioned it in her studies as well. And that their pilot program went well, although it was recognized that even if the pilot program was to be expanded, that the residents required to have access to an outdoor private yard large enough for an hen enclosure while meeting zoning and setback requirements. So as a result, a significant amount of Toronto residents would not have access to Urban Hens TO program. So even if you have a private yard, the startup costs, to do this for many residents, you're looking at about $1,000 to build a chicken coop or get one installed. There's also feed, vet care. this is going to sound a little bit out there, but what happens if the chicken gets sick? I'm not trying to be facetious, but they are animals. When you look after them, do we have veterinarians that handle the health and welfare of chickens? Because they're not being used for it's for hen laying, so we have to keep them healthy, and we have to make sure that they could do what they're supposed to do. And then what happens when they don't lay eggs anymore? What happens to these hens? So for me, what I'd love in thinking about this program, wouldn't it be awesome if the town would work on something that everyone can participate in? I was thinking, well, what can everyone have the same opportunities? And part of that would be maybe container gardening, window box gardening, expanded gardens. So, even in a small space, you can have a windowsill garden box. And maybe there's an opportunity to grow food, because really what we're looking at is food insecurity and building the skill set for the children, the parents to build a garden. That I think is something that you won't have any barriers for. And I started thinking about that a lot. And we paid homage to Beverly Wood last week, and I thought, what would she love to see, that everyone had food and somehow have access to that. And I thought it'd be great maybe to put a motion forward eventually, Mr. Mayor, and to everyone here, that we look at more of an inclusive municipal food security program. And maybe that's what we can look at coming out of this excellent discussion tonight, that we have an opportunity to think about food insecurity, education, and food sovereignty. And that's, I think, what I'd love to see. But at the moment, and I have done not a huge amount of asking residents. I did a few, and they all said it was a great idea, but not beside my house. And I just, and I hate to say that, guys, it's so terrible, but I know I was a victim of that as a little girl in Toronto, and we almost got ran out of Weston. So we had to get rid of our chickens, and it probably left with that bad experience. So anyway, that's all for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that the process is being followed here. We had a resident who came forward, presented the idea. Councillor Gilliland has put a motion forward. It doesn't sound like it would be onerous or a huge amount of time for staff to put together this report. And I think I'd like it to be on a public report, what the findings are, and then vote on it as a council. So I will support this motion.
Thank you. I don't know, hearing what around the table, my thoughts were I've done my homework too, and I appreciate Councillor Gilliland bringing it. As Councillor Gardner mentioned, this is what we do. Residents come out, they have an issue, or they have a concern, or they have an idea, and we as council bring forward those issues, concerns, or ideas, and we try to find a resolution or a solution to those concerns or ideas. And so, yeah, I appreciate you, Councillor Dillon, bringing this forward. But I mean, I've done my homework too, and I've read through all the reports, and we have issues when, as Councillor Humphreys mentioned, about community gardens. How many times have we had a report that said we're going to put a community gardens here, and we have a whole bunch of people come in and they say, I don't even want a garden beside me. And so I can only imagine what would happen. And from the people that I hear is that I agree. They all think a lot of people think it's a great idea, but not beside them. And so I think we'll run into those issues, but also with the issues as far as how big of a yard you need. It wouldn't be inclusive to everybody in our town. The program wouldn't be available to everyone. And I think that as Councillor Thompson mentioned, as we do have areas that do allow for hens to have a chicken coop, that I think that we continue to look at those areas, and maybe we have staff report back to us on any findings from the areas that are allowed currently in our town, and if there's anything in those areas that can kind of show us how things are happening, if there are chicken coops right now being utilized in those areas, and see what the information comes from that. But I don't think that there's anything that would come back in a report that would change my mind, and so I won't be in favor of asking staff to move forward in working on this and bringing us back a report. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Gilliland? Second time?
Thank you. And I just really want to circle up. I've listened to my colleagues around the table, and I respect your comments, and I appreciate support from Councillor Gardner and Councillor Gallo. Although I do find there is some benefit to having staff coming back and bringing us a report that's specific to what is good for Aurora. Aurora is not like Newmarket and Georgina and Toronto. And as I said, I'm no expert. I'm not going to say I am an expert. Already, I've heard some comments around the table that are simply untrue. One of the points that's brought up is, no one wants it their neighbor next door, and I get that. But it's consistent with all the municipalities I spoke of that they specifically have a bylaw that says you must have approval from abutting neighbors to allow you to have this coop next door. Also with some of these projects and pilots, we're not talking, all of a sudden there's 20, 30, 40, we're talking, there could be like 6 people, 6 properties. And I think it's the point. I think the whole point is allowing people the option. And if it happens to follow the criteria where they are, that's great. Not everybody has a big yard. Some people have a very small yard. Some people have no side yards. They're in a townhouse. Some people are in a condo. So it's not something that is intended to be inclusive for every person. It's just allowing them that opportunity. And whether that's right for Aurora or not, I just want to see what staff can come back. Obviously, there's some good information out there, but clearly they're going to be able to give me a little bit more information. I've also heard some comments about, the vast majority, and quite honestly, I don't know who this vast majority is, because I haven't seen these vast majority of emails. And part of the process, from what I understand in each municipality, is public consultation. And I don't take that lightly. I think public engagement is great. And if the public comes and says, that's not what I want, then, obviously I would like to listen to what the public has to say. But right now, I've had an overwhelming response of residents excited about this moving forward, more so than not. But I do appreciate the fact that maybe, there's a few people that say, no, I don't want them next door. I get that. I'm simply doing my duty and bringing it forward and asking staff to report back whether or not this is something feasible we can do in Aurora. And I hope I can get some, at least convincing you guys to get some support here, to have staff come back with that. I don't think this is going to be a lot of work for them to come back. I think there is a lot of information, probably some fine tuning and things that are a little bit more specific to Aurora in respect to zoning in areas and something specific. I know in Toronto and in Newmarket, they were specific to certain wards. We could be specific in certain areas and distance apart for a pilot, if that was something we chose. Again, this is just coming back and saying, these are options, either we want to do it or we don't. But again, I just want to follow the process. And I hope that, I hope you agree.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record vote for the third motion 9.3 on this evening's agenda. Councillor Kim, how do you vote?
No.
Mayor Maracus?
No.
Councillor Thompson?
No.
Councillor Humphreys?
No.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
And Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Motion is defeated.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Of course.
Council move to, just pulling it up here, 9.4. Actually, that's my motion. I'll have to pass the chair. Councillor Kim, pass the chair to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you like to table the motion?
I'd like to move as is.
Okay, could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Thompson? Would you like to speak on it first, Mayor Maracus?
Absolutely. So thank you, Mr. Chair. We all know, the official plan, along with the secondary plans, such as the Promenade Plan, which I'm put forward here to look at reviewing and updating, is a way that municipalities can articulate how we grow and how we implement provincial and regional policies. And these are the tools that the province has afforded us And so, I believe, and I've always believed, and I know we all believe as a council, that we need to ensure that we use them to the fullest extent that is made available to us. The promenade plan that I'm asking to review is 10 years old. And with any plan, things change. And we know that, things evolve. And so, currently our official plans are required to be updated every 10 years. So I think it's time that the promenade plan be updated as well. Currently we've seen that the province and the region created the major transit station areas. And these areas are areas where intensification should be concentrated on. And this is due to being located where transit and the infrastructure needed already exists. So that's why municipalities should intensify in these areas, and rightfully so. But the question that I think needs to be put out there is, who decides what intensification is? How high, how dense, what type of built form? We've heard it many discussions at public planning when we sat down, and without a specific policy in place, these numbers become subjective. We sit around and we say that our promenade plan or our OP is outdated, and because there's intensification needed and the province is asking for intensification within these areas, that we should go higher than than our restrictions allow for within our official plans and the promenade plan, right? But it should be us as a town that decides what those specific policies are. And I believe that that's why the province leaves it as such a vague term. The understanding is always that the municipality is different, and the intensification will have different limits in different communities. And Aurora is unique, and we need to set the framework that allows us to remain unique and not just become another suburb of Toronto. I believe if we do not take this opportunity to set the policies for the major transit station areas and our promenade area, so that they articulate exactly what we as a town envision for growth in these areas, well, then we leave it to the interpretation to the development community and an unelected, unaccountable body such as LPAT. And we will lose our vision for our town to overdevelopment. And we've seen it happen before. So with the region in the middle of their official plan update, and with our town currently working on our update, I believe that this is the optimal time for us to review and update the promenade plan to include the key specifics about MTSAs so that our town, once everything is approved, will be well positioned to execute our vision for appropriate growth that meets the needs of our community. And I know I didn't put anything in there about funding. And so Mr. Waters, through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Waters, I know we had a discussion about funding. Would this be able to be funded through the current OP reviews?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Councillor Kim, yes, we have sufficient funds available to initiate the review and hopefully complete it within the budget that we have for the OP review capital account.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Marakis. Any comments or questions? Councillor Gallo?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Waters, how, based on the resolutions before us, how do you envision this to happen?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So we need to advance our official plan review to a certain point where we can initiate this work. In addition, we need the regional official plan review to advance as well and to receive council endorsement regarding the boundaries of the MTSA. And also the region is responsible for determining densities as well within the MTSA. So we need that work to be done. That work is likely going to be ready to be presented to regional council towards the end of this year or early next year. So, it will be opportunistic to then sort of move forward to update the promenade plan because it is 10 years old. There's been some provincial policy changes since then. So that work would be initiated in sometime in 2020.
Councillor Gallo?
Just to be clear, it would be initiated once the region has determined made some decisions on density, and you said something else.
And through you, Mr. Chair, it would be the geography, the boundaries of the MTSA. and also centers and corridors as well. So once that work has been presented to regional council and there's endorsement, then we can move forward on the promenade plan.
And this would, in your mind, this would be under the guidance of the committee that's already struck?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I see it. I see sort of being a continuation of the OP review, in terms of using the same consultants, both on the public consultation side and also on the planning side. And in addition to maintaining the same structure in terms of committees, we may need to shift some things around because we're going from a town-wide perspective now to more of a geographic perspective on the promenade plan, which has certain geography. So generally, it would be the same structure with some adjustments made.
And Councilor Gallo?
Through you, Mr. Chair, when would you suggest that it would be completed? Prior to the end of this term?
Ms. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't see that. I see it deliverable probably in 23.
Okay. And you foresee no budget issues?
Through Mr. Chair, at this time, no, but you know, sorry, Mr. Chair, I don't see any budget issues at this point in time. But I mean, that's again subject to understanding the scope of work and getting a proposal in with a budget. So I'm confident that for the most part, we can deliver the promenade plan review based on remaining funds in the OP capital account.
And if that proposal comes in over budget, do you need to come back to us?
Ms. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct. We will come back to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Gallo. Councilor Gilliland?
Thank you. And I believe Councilor Gallo had already asked a bunch of the questions I had, which was something that would commence once the region's done its official plan review. And that's correct, Mr. Waters?
Ms. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct, Councilor Gilliland.
Thank you. And once that's done and we commence going forward with this promenade study, would it trigger other studies within it?
Ms. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, one of the other things we have to address is the motion that was passed for the town to prepare a community permit plan. So that would be part and parcel of what we're doing first. The OP review needs enabling policies as the first step in that process. And then once we have those policies in the plan, then we can proceed to produce a community permit plan. So I see it as part and parcel of the promenade review.
Councilor Gilliland?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. And so just circling back on the permit policy then, is this something, because I recollect, is this something that we as council would have a chance to review because that criteria hasn't really been determined?
Ms. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, absolutely, yes. It requires council approval through an implementing official plan amendment, yes, absolutely. And public participation as well.
Okay, and is that budget been determined through the previous questions of Councillor Gallo?
Ms. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we're hoping we can do both the review and the community permit plan with the existing OP review budget. I don't see a major retooling of the promenade plan. I think it needs to be updated and fine-tuned in accordance with what the province is producing. But I mean, in some ways, it's kind of it's a bit ahead of its time in terms of what it was proposed, what was approved. So it's more fine-tuning than I see at this point, and focusing on what the region has produced with regards to the MTSAs, or MTSA for Aurora, rather. Thank you.
Councilor Gilliland?
Thank you. Well, I guess that's good news. That it just needs some minor polishing up, and it was forward thinking 10 years ago, I guess they say. So I'm glad to hear that. Thanks.
Okay, we'll go to Councilor Thompson, then Councilor Gardner.
Thank you. I would agree, you know, after 10 years, it is time to revisit the plan and take a look at it. You know, over the years, we've seen certain developments go forward, some of which, you know, did materialize as imagined in the Promenade Plan, most notably the northwest corner. You know, there was in the Promenade Plan a great concept plan for the development of that corner at Yonge and Wellington. Unfortunately, it didn't come to fruition. And so, you know, there's been other developments along the way. So I would agree that it's time to revisit it, take a look and see what updating is necessary. You know, based on the questions of Councillor Gallo and Councillor Gilliland, you know, it seems to me that really, you know, we're not looking to have a substantive undertaking and redo the entire plan. Really what we're looking at is just updating and revising it to reflect some of the current policies in place, as well as some of the, you know, changes that have happened over the past 10 years. And I support that. You know, we've done that often with our strategic plan, economic plan, with other master plans as well. Periodically, we'll rather redo the whole thing. We'll just look to make it current and update it. So, you know, I'm supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. A lot of work went into the Promenade Plan, and I think it's an excellent plan. No problem looking at it and seeing if it still completely relates to today. My question is about through Mr. Mayor to Mr. Waters. An MTSA is it's for a transit station. It says a high order transit station or stop. Are we saying that the Viva stops along Yonge Street fit into that category?
Can I,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I answer that?
Sure.
If I answer it
Thank you.
incorrectly, Mr. Waters can.
Okay,
Councillor Gardner, the understanding is from the region, what they've drawn out as mapping for the MTSA area within Aurora, it's actually engulfed by the Promenade Plan. So it's the area right by the GO station, and it moves back towards the Priestley lands a little bit into there. And so that's the area that's considered the MTSA area that they've drawn up that they're going to be looking at moving forward. But that's engulfed by the overall Promenade Plan. And Mr. Waters, if I haven't done it justice, by all means, please jump in.
Councillor Waters.
Through you, Mr. Chair. You've done a pretty good job, Mr. Mayor, in describing it. I'll just add that high order transit doesn't have to be rail. It also is bus. And York Region's stops on Yonge Street with the center median for the bus lanes. That would be considered to be an MTSA as well. But we don't have any of those in Aurora. We just have the rail, which is the GO Transit station in the downtown.
Thank you. And thank you for that answer. And there was a big fight at the time to protect the downtown core. And also there really wasn't the room to do a major transit stop project there. So, and we do want to protect that area. We want it to be as vibrant and pedestrian friendly as possible. So we do need to be careful what we do in that area. But that's I don't know what you mean by engulfed, Mr. Mayor.
It's part of it. It's part of the Promenade Plan. Sorry, Mr. Chair, I cut it.
Good, as long as it's not
Mr. Mayor.
underwater, Mr. Mayor. And I think, and I actually have a motion that I may bring forward at some point. We need to think about the area around the GO station. I know we've got a development, you know, at Industrial and Wellington, northeast corner, but we really need to give some thought about what we want to do with that area. It needs to become a planning area and a planning initiative. So I may bring that motion forward before anybody else gets around to it, but it's, I'm sorry we haven't done it already because it might have had some implications for our planning to date. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. I'd be in support of the motion, given that we are doing the OPR. It goes hand in hand with the promenade secondary plan, so I'd be in favor. Are there any other questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll call the vote. Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to close this out. And Councillor Gallo has his hands up as well. We'll go to you first, Councillor Gallo.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to highlight that our Director of Planning thought that the Promenade study 10 years ago was ahead of its time, and congratulations to the committee, which I was on, and former Mayor Morris and former Councillor McEachran were on, and pat on the back to all of us for doing such a great plan. And I agree with going forward with this and tweaking it as needed.
Thank you, Councillor Gallo. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Gardner, did you have your hands up?
Thank you. I just would like to add that I believe then Councillor Ballard was on the committee, or he certainly gave a lot of effort into the promenade plan. And it's a great plan, but somehow the political will wasn't there to really enact, especially that Yonge and Wellington part. So here we are. Let's see what we can do with it now.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner. Mayor Maracus, would you like to close this discussion up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as I stated, I mean, we need, and Councillor Gardner, you're correct. And that's part of this is in regards to the MTSA area, right? I mean, we need to set what the standards are in that area, what the vision is, and that's going to be part of this work. And it is too bad that we didn't do something earlier. But to be fair to everyone, is that the MTSA wasn't developed. I would say it was just recently developed, right? It came down from the province and the region. And so, to be fair to all of us, previous councils and ourselves, that we're just getting this now, and this is a new area that they've developed, and so they've identified them and they've drawn them up, and so now we have an understanding of where it's going to be. And so I think for us, it positioned us very well to be able to move forward, as I mentioned, to move forward to the future with the policies set in place of how we envision our town to grow in the transit corridor, in our downtown, and in our town as a whole. We're doing our OP now. If we're going to do the promenade plan and the MTSA, we're going to be set for the next 10 years or more on how we're going to grow. And with everything that's going on, from our development with Library Square, with other developments occurring in the downtown, things have changed over the last 10 years. And that's why I think that this update is coming at an optimal time for us to look at how we can continue to grow within that vision that we're seeing happening within that downtown, to make it become that thriving downtown that we're all looking at creating, and that we're on our way forward into creating. And so this is going to become a regional destination that is going to be the envy, I think, of all the GTA. And so to me, this is an exciting time and an exciting opportunity for us to set those policies. And we're all going to have a hand in setting those policies with our community as a whole. And so I think this is great. And I'm glad that everyone's looking forward to moving forward with this update. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So with all that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Or sorry, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Recorded vote for the fourth motion on tonight's agenda, item 9.4. Councillor Gardner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Humphreys?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
And Councillor Gilliland.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'll pass the chair back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Appreciate that. Council will move to our, actually, before I do that, I'm going to ask, because I should ask, instead of just plowing through, it's 9 o'clock. Do we want to take a health break, or do we want to just finish up? We have one more motion and the regional report and new business. Just keep going. Is everyone, I'm seeing a lot of nodding yes, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, let's keep going. Next motion, 9.5, vibration study for intensification projects in Aurora Promenade. Councillor Rachel Gilliland, and the clause is, now therefore be it hereby resolved that as part of the Town of Aurora official plan review, consideration be given to adding a policy to require that a vibration study be identified as a requirement in the pre-consultation process for intensification projects located in the Aurora Promenade and the major transit station area where heritage homes in a heritage district are identified. Councillor Gilliland, would you like to move that?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Gardner. Councillor Gilliland, floor is yours.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This motion was really spawned by a project that I began on Temperance and Tyler, one of the new major infill projects that's close to heritage homes and obviously part of our promenade area and major transit station area. This project did start with good intentions, but it was halted due to some vibration caused by the construction. But I should note that a vibration study has since been requested before commencing. So in respect to this motion, currently we don't have any policies in place to ensure vibration studies requested at the pre-consultation stage, which essentially means in order to submit an application package, that vibration study would also need to be submitted. With an expected amount of infill development and intensification projects to continue located in this major transit area where many heritage homes are located, it only makes sense to add this extra step. I understand the vibration risks and impacts to heritage homes in its proximity. I did speak to staff who agrees would be an added benefit. We want to point out there is no letter of credit that's attached to the study. However, it does prevent work from commencing before understanding the vibration impacts and ensures the builder is aware and accountable. So since we're in the progress of our official plan review, I feel the timing is right to move forward with this consideration.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions to the motion? Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I think this is a great motion. Appreciate Councillor Gilliland bringing it forward. I'm wondering if I would have to bring forward a separate motion. We're going to expect a lot of infill development, and it's not only in areas with heritage homes, but we do have homes that are, especially in our stable neighborhoods and surrounding areas, that are getting a little long in the tooth. So through you to Mr. Waters, is this something that we could put as a general rule when we're doing, it's not infill housing, housing intensification in the older areas?
Mr. Waters.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. You know, it's a policy that really should apply townwide, notwithstanding the age of the dwelling, because vibration will have an impact whether the house is 10 years old or 100 years old.
True. Thank you. Through you then, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gilliland, are you interested in doing that, or should I bring forward another motion?
Councillor Gilliland? Are you amenable to making it a town-wide policy?
Sorry,
Thank
Councillor,
you.
Sorry. I'm sprinkling it on you. I just was thinking of it in general. It's such a good motion. We should.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and you know, I did talk to David, Mr. Waters, about this, and it's something that should be considered, or to be considered townwide. I have no issue with this. For me, it was specifically, at least in and around our heritage homes. These other studies do fall under an other study category. So it is something that planning can request and to have for these projects. This just really highlights and puts forward these high risk areas, such as these heritage homes. But David, Mr. Waters could in fact ask on his own delegated authority for this.
Councillor?
Well, you know what? I respect the fact that Councillor Gilliland is respecting the heritage home. So let's just leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through to Mr. Waters. Just in terms of the difference between the motion in front of us and our current OP, perhaps you can explain it, because when I look at our official plan, it does speak to noise and vibration impact assessments, and that those studies shall be required or could be required. And so I guess my first question is that, do we have measures in place for a vibration study today in our current OP? And how would this motion, if going forward, change what we already have?
To go into.
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Thompson is correct. Section 15.2 of the official plan speaks to complete applications, and noise and vibration studies, in addition to numerous other studies, are listed in that section. The policy, the way it reads today, deals more with vibration that affects those who are living in the development versus those within a certain catchment area outside the development. So, but the way the policy is, the way the policies are written, it does allow for sufficient flexibility to request for vibration studies for any type of development, to be quite frank with you.
Councillor Thompson?
So my second question is, so if the council approves the motion tonight, how will this change things?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what it will do is put some emphasis on, when we review the policies of the official plan in general, to focus on that specific issue and to highlight it as being an issue that needs some refinement in the policies. As I said earlier, generally the policy, the way it's written now on a town-wide basis, is more for those living within the development that's being proposed, as opposed to those who are external to it. So it's similar to what we talked about in the promenade. It's just kind of updating the policies, making them current. So and putting a bit of a spotlight on the heritage areas within the downtown area.
Great.
Councillor? Thank you. Councillor Kim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Gilliland for bringing this motion forward. Vibration has been, I've heard every year something about vibration. So, this had to be dealt with and focused on. So I appreciate the motion. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. Waters, is this an OP item or is this a planning item? Can we just not have a motion that which would add a bylaw if we don't already have that? But given your last response to Councillor Thompson, we do have a bylaw that speaks to that. But is this an OP item or is this more of a planning item?
Mr. Waters?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's part of a complete application process whereby, these kind of studies are identified at the pre-con stage and they're required as part of a complete submission. And I'm not sure what the town's practice has been in the past in terms of asking for these studies. I just want to point out, in addition to the OP policy in section 15.2, which provides for complete application submissions and identifies the studies that are required. We also have the building bylaw as well, which also has a clause in it that allows the chief building official to request a vibration study as part of a building permit application. And we actually have exercised that clause as part of the Amica and United Church development, because it wasn't asked for before as through the planning process. So we realize that there's a vibration issue out there, so we want to address it. So we've exercised for that study. So it's covered off in two angles at the moment, through the OP and also through the building bylaw.
Councillor?
Thank you. And excuse my ignorance, but with regards to the definition of intensification projects, I just want to know what the catch basin for that terminology is. Are we talking about minimum, 2-3 lots in a downtown core, or Bayview Wellington, or are we talking, condominium projects? What's the definition of intensification projects?
Mr. Waters, I think we had this. I'll laugh about it because I like to hear your explanation on it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, you could ask 5 different people and you get 5 different answers. So if you go with the provincial definition, it's basically going from 1 unit to 2 units. So if you have a vacant single-family lot and you put a house on there, that's technically intensification.
Counselor?
Okay, well, thank you. I just bring that topic up because if it's literally for, let's say, just for 2 lots, I mean, certainly, I don't know what the cost of a vibration study is, but, you know, it could be cost prohibitive, but in the end, you know, a vibration study is necessary. So, you know, cost is secondary. So that's my rationale for asking. I'd be in support of the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Waters, I just have 2 questions. I know it was brought up, but I'm just having trouble. I'm supportive of it. I'm kind of in agreement with Councillor Gardner. I wouldn't mind seeing it as a town-wide. I mean, I think obviously we're very protective of our heritage homes in our heritage district, but I mean, I think vibrations through any project is vibrations regardless of where it is in the town. I mean, we're gonna have condominiums probably be built along Leslie, and so I would hate the fact. I think that we're not going to afford the same opportunities as far as from a vibration perspective for the homes that are adjacent to those projects that are going to be happening, and so that they would be left out. So that's why I think it should be a town-wide policy if we're going to do it. I know Councillor Thompson mentioned it. I'm just having troubles wrapping my head around this. Is that what changes if we approve this? Because what I heard from you is that it's in the OP, that you can give consideration already, that our chief building officer can give consideration to doing this. And this is asking that consideration be given. So I'm just wondering what's the difference.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there really is no difference. Like I said, I think what the councillor is trying to do through this motion is put a spotlight on heritage and make sure that doesn't slip through the cracks. Okay. It's not specifically stated in the policy of the official plan. So what the motion will direct staff to do through the OP review is essentially highlight vibration on a town-wide basis and specific attention to heritage areas and heritage dwellings.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, I'm supportive of it. Thank you for bringing it forward. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Gilliland, did you want to finish up?
No, I think that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Record vote for the 5th motion, item 9.5 on this evening's agenda. Councillor Humphreys, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
And Mayor Maracus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Council, we'll move to the Regional Council highlights. Recommendation that the York Regional Council highlights of January 28, 2021 be received for information. Someone like to move that? Councillor Gardner, seconded by Councillor Humphreys. Comments or questions on the regional report? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. I was wondering if perhaps Mrs. Wainwright Van Kessel could weigh in on one of the comments within the Regional Council. It spoke to a small business subclass.
Sure, and that was an interesting conversation at council. Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the creation of a small business subclass would be created at the regional level and the town would follow suit. There are some challenges with this subclass, particularly in determining what the definition of this subclass would be, what constitutes a small business. And also we must give consideration to the fact that a lot of small businesses are not necessarily property owners as well. So how would this impact small businesses that happen to rent properties? So there are a number of considerations that need to happen. And if this subclass was to be created, it would have to be created relatively soon. and rolled out as the final tax bills and the ratios that are used to distribute the taxes over the various classes need to be determined by May so that final tax billings can be done in time.
Councillor?
Thank you. So I would expect then either through yourself, Mayor Maracus, or through staff that, should this proceed, you would give us sort of an update or provide some additional information. The other one really is just sort of a comment. I mean, obviously we've all been concerned with the impact that COVID has had both here on the town of Aurora, but also on the region. And the report itself speaks to it, but as we always see, the report's usually a month behind. Is there any way that we could get reports sooner or a little bit more current? Especially, you look at it and it talks about the fact that the impact was for COVID, and, perhaps you can comment on it, but, I suspect that maybe those numbers change on a monthly basis as more information comes in. And so I just think that, like any data or any report, the more current, the better it is. And that's something you could take into consideration and see if there's a way that we can get a more current report.
Councillor, absolutely. And I've talked to our clerk about this specific topic. With COVID, especially with the pandemic, things change on a daily basis. What happens this week is not going to be relevant next week. I mean, when we see it, it's changing very, very rapidly. And so what I've asked for, and the clerk says it's not an issue. So moving forward, what we'll see is we'll see the regional report come to council at our first GC meeting. So as soon as it's made available from the region, it will be on our report, on our GC agenda for us to review and make comments on at that point. And that way it's also current in my mind, because I gotta be honest with you, you're right, we're about a month behind. Right now, we're dealing with many different issues that have nothing to do with what's going on here. And we're way past this stuff. And so it would be great also to have a discussion while it's still current, as you mentioned. So we will be doing that as we move forward. So at our first GC next month, you'll see a regional report coming.
Good.
And then my final one, it's not in the, it's kind of in the regional report because it talks about the Upper York sewage solution, but there was a news story that recently came out of a Pickering Council opposing the treating of more of York Region sewage. And I just wonder if there's been any more conversation at the region level with regards to that, because obviously, that revolves around York Region and whether it's flowing north or south. And I just want to understand better, perhaps, what the next steps are.
What I can say at this point is we're waiting for the province to make a decision one way or the other. But what we can say is we're still overall supportive of continuing to look at the Upper York sewage solution, and also considering the fact that we've already spent as a region $100 million on moving forward in that direction. And so we're still supportive of that solution.
Thanks.
Mr. Clerk, I saw you jumped in. Was I wrong about being the first GC, sorry, or is it going to be the second GC?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. We're going to do it as quickly as we possibly can, including adding it via revised agendas on the day of the meeting, and then council could still ask questions that night at GC or at the council meeting. So it's as soon as possible. We don't have the most recent one yet from the region, so we think it'll be March 23rd this month. Or in March, excuse me, but it'll just be on as soon as possible basis.
Yes. So we'll get it on the agenda as soon as possible. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gartner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe I missed something. Where did we leave the small business support issue? Regional council and our treasurer are at the region is still looking into this, and so they haven't decided one way or the other just this yet. Thank you.
Anything else, Councillor?
No, thanks.
No? Oh, okay. Councillor Gilliland, regional report.
Yeah, I noticed on the report about the Whistle Station in Markham in respect to the Stouffville GO line, and it was interesting. I was just kind of pulling up the report in Markham and how they're working together with Metrolinx to, I I guess, cohesively work together, understand the responsibilities, and there's a criteria that they had to go through. And I'm wondering, just thinking about when we had looked into this prior to our expansion, that we decided not to move forward with that. Considering we are going to have all these trains going back and forth, whether that criteria changes, and might be something that we could work with Metrolinx in order to have a same kind of agreement in our town. Considering we're going to have dual tracks and whatnot, the same kind of cessation criteria may apply. Do you have any insight on that?
My understanding after talking to Mayor Scarpitti and also some of the councillors at Markham is that they don't see the same issue we do as far as the liability. Our problem has always been the fact that we're not willing to put our town in the position where we accept liability. And I can't speak for Markham, but they've chosen that's not a deal breaker for them to move forward. So I mean, we can continue to look at it, but if I would say that if it was to come back to us, if Metrolinx wasn't willing to take on that liability and relinquish the town from accepting that liability, then I think we would end up in the same position that we voted on last time.
Okay, I was just wondering what that was, because it didn't really state in this report what the relationship was between City of Markham and Metrolinx, if they had some sort of agreement or term in regards to the liability. So what you're saying is that Markham is assuming full liability if something were to happen?
I can't speak to the details, Councillor. That would be Markham, something for Markham to answer. We don't get the full details of what Markham has decided. It comes to the region, and the region just basically okays what Markham has asked to do.
Okay, so I mean, I'm happy to look into this further if there's some sort of arrangement they've had with Metrolinx to where they share some of the accountability. I think it's worth us revisiting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Gardner.
I have no other questions with respect to this report. Is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, you had your hand up again.
Oh, no, I just didn't get lowered.
Oh, okay. No, I did get lowered. It popped back up.
Oh, well, I
So
have
I
no
thought-
idea. Magic.
Okay. All right. Mr. Clerk, ask for the vote. No other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the regional report on this evening's agenda. Councillor Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Humphries?
Yes.
And Mayor Moraes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. New business. Councillor Thompson. Councillor Humphries. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I meant to pull the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority report. Just to mention that there was quite a deficit in the asset management, in the infrastructure gap money. And one of the things the Conservation Authority is looking at is disposing of certain properties, and on that list is Shepherd's Bush. So nothing has been decided yet, but it's been on at least 2 reports already. So I think it's something we should be aware of. You probably are, Mr. Mayor, but I don't know if council is. Also, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for wearing this gorgeous pink tie, because tomorrow's Pink Shirt Day. And Councillor Gallo, I think you're wearing pink.
He is. I was going to mention that as well.
And if you are, thank you. I don't own anything pink, but I thank you for doing that. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I did watch the regional meeting from February 11th. Just to make it clear, Regional Council, I believe, was only looking at one intersection in Vaughan. Thank you. And just in case there was any misunderstanding about that. I also looked at the mapping for the highway. It's pretty clear from that it's at least some, if not quite a lot, is going to be on the protected green belt. And it's also going to just wreak havoc with the wildlife areas and the natural environment. So I thank you for supporting the environmental assessment that the Toronto Conservation Authority is going to do, but it is just for receipt of information, and we know that means pretty much nothing. So I'd like to say to you, Mr. Mayor, you've been very supportive of environmental protection. And there was a request, I'm not sure if it was Environmental Alliance or I think it was Environmental Alliance who attended that meeting. And what they are asking is that, and I would really appreciate, I think the Aurora community would appreciate it too, would be to put forward the amendments that they are supporting, which is to ask the federal government, there's never been a requirement for an environmental assessment on this land, to ask the federal government to do an EA with an independent expert, and it would be binding. And the point of that is to ensure that we are putting forward transportation solutions that are sustainable, because right now we're really involved with COVID. But as soon as that's passed, hopefully soon, I think climate change is going to become very important to our community. So I ask that you would consider putting forward an amendment, sending that message down to the province. They don't have to do it, but I think it would show that we are serious about environmental protection in Aurora, and you're certainly on the record for that. So thanks
Thank you,
for
Councillor.
considering it, and hopefully for doing it.
I'll just let you know that I am speaking with Councillor Ennis, who is the chair of Toronto Region Conservation Authority. I'm also going to be having a meeting with Mr. Freeman, who is our Director of Planning at the region tomorrow, specifically to this item. So, and with Mayor Taylor as well. So we're going to have some discussions about it, and get a full understanding of previous regional perspectives, because this has been going on 10 plus years. And so we want to get some background information as well on it. And I also want to get the perspective from Chair Ennis as far as from a Toronto Region Conservation Authority as well. So absolutely.
Thank you. And there, from what I understand from listening to the meeting, there is a request for motion amendment from Eco Justice or the Environmental Alliance. So it's there. It would be easy just to duplicate it. And I think that's what the residents want, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland, new business?
Thank you. And I support what you said, Councillor Gartner, and your comments and remarks. Thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate it. And I look forward to the outcome that our mayor will bring to the table after these discussions. So thanks for asking those questions. I just want to kind of let the public know that Metrolinx has completed one of their studies, their environmental project report addendum, and it's been posted on Metrolinx Engage website. There was a 30-day review period that is to start today and ends March 24th. And then during that period, they're asking the public and stakeholders to give their comments and questions for feedback. There will be a 30-day, that's the 30-day review. Once that's complete, they will respond to all your questions and concerns, and then they'll submit your concerns and questions to the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks for a final review. From there, the ministry has 35-day review period before issuing a statement of completion. So I encourage the public to go to metrolinxengage.com and look up this addendum. They did say that a notice was mailed to over 200,000 residents 100 meters within the study, but I thought I would at least share with the public that this information was shared with me earlier today. The other thing I wanted to ask, and through Mr. Mayor to Mr. Waters, is whether or not you had an update on the EV station with the Tesla project. I know it was brought up last week. And from my understanding, and I didn't really do a follow-up, but from my understanding, it's at that time, and maybe things have changed, is that the actual Tesla stations itself, the chargers were really only conducive to whether or not you owned a Tesla car versus a different hybrid car that had different electrical outlets. If
Mr.
you could
Waters?
just maybe confirm that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I did do some digging with staff on that. None of the staff, Natalie wasn't here at that time. My understanding is, I thought there was a question about did the town take advantage of some kind of program from Tesla? I think that was maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. There were some discussions, but nothing was ever implemented. So that's all I really have to report to you on that. I can do some more digging on that for you and give you some information offline. Should I find something else?
No problem. Thank you. Natalie was the person I'd spoken to months ago on this. Maybe things have changed, especially now that they've announced or will be releasing lower end vehicles. But from my understanding at that time, it was because the actual stations were only conducive to these cars that were really unaffordable to most people, and didn't necessarily have any benefit to anybody who owned a hybrid that was a different manufacturer. So that was kind of what I understood, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe things have changed, but it would be nice to kind of have that update. So thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Gallo, new business?
Just a quick question to staff. I'm not sure who, in terms of the security guards at the ice rinks, if there's a plan to kind of reduce their hours or what the plan. I mean, I can only speak for Queen's Diamond, Jubilee, and 9 to 11 every day, 7 days a week is quite excessive. I think we have to provide them washroom facility as well. Just knowing that the rink is not used anywhere near that. I don't think I've ever seen more than 25 people there. I'm just curious to see what the plan is.
Mr. Downey?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, and maybe Robin can add on to this, but we have called off security at James Lloyd on Monday. At Queen's Diamond Jubilee will more than likely be tomorrow, in that the rink is probably done. The rinks at Ada Johnson and Town Park are still operational, so we will continue that until March 1st, at which point there will be no security at those sites or staff.
Councillor?
Perfect, thank you. We're on the same page. Good. The only other thing, it's not new business, but in terms of Pink, tomorrow is anti-bullying day, and just in support of that, and I see your pink tie as well. We should do what we can to make sure we support anti-bullying.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well said, Councillor. Councillor Kim, new business?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Nadarasny, I know we've had a couple of conversations regarding the beavers on St. John's Side Road and east of Bayview. So if you could just give us an update as to when we can expect an update, and if you can confirm that, as you confirmed with me when we had our conversation, that there's a cessation of any kind of beaver trapping activity throughout Aurora, and it's not just in that one area. If you could just give us an update, please.
Mr. CAO?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, my understanding is we did stop the beaver trapping when the last traps were disturbed, and we're looking to bring a report back to council, but I see Mr. Downey jumping on, so he's probably got more current information.
Mr. Downey?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Doug. Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we have stopped trapping. However, we have had discussions with Development Engineering and Conservation Authority with regards to possible alterations to our storm ponds in order to deal with any damming that the beavers may create. The conservation, so we had a lengthy conversation with Development Engineering and the Conservation Authority. This was about a week ago. The Conservation Authority has gone away to look at mediation measures and whether or not these are mediation measures they feel that they can permit. And if that's the case, then there may be some modifications to storm ponds in order to deal with flow diversion for storm ponds. If we find there are not mediation devices available, then we will have to be looking at alternatives with regards to beaver removal from the ponds. And all of that will be in a report once we have some definitive answer from the Conservation Authority.
Councillor?
Good, thanks for the update.
Councillor Gilliland, you have something else to add?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was just one thing. I just wanted to kind of highlight, just kind of special to my heart, that it was National Cup Day this Monday for the OSPCA, and it's something that they're kind of carrying on throughout the week. They have a contest going on, a cupcake decorating contest to raise funds to help animals in their community, and I just thought I'd just highlight the fact that this is still going on, and what a fun way to raise funds for our special little pets. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Just wanted to, so I have just a couple things, and there are more PSAs, but the only reason I'm going to mention them is because they're we're at the end of the month, and it's going to run out of time, so they kind of need to be done now. If we're going to do them, they're going to be pointless next week. So and Councillor Gallo, great pink shirt. Just want to let everyone know too that this is a pink shirt as well. You might not be able to tell, but it's all pink today. So, and it's very important, as was mentioned, to support anti-bullying. And tomorrow, if you can wear pink, please do, and share with your social on your social media accounts, and let everyone know that we all stand up against bullying. So, thank you for wearing pink today. I did want to mention. There's a couple things happening as this month is Black History Month still. We're not at the end of the month yet. And so in continuing with Black History Month celebrations, February 26th at 6 p.m., the Aurora Black Community Group will be hosting a discussion entitled Racialized Stigmas and Mindset. This event focuses on understanding the importance of our mindset when dealing with racism and stigma, the importance of forgiveness and love, plus the importance of being intentional about our attitude and choices. Talk show host, mental health advocate, and author Karen Carrington will be the guest speaker. And for more information, please visit Aurora Black Community Facebook page. And also on February 27th, the Aurora Black Community will be hosting their Black History Month wrap-up event, which will be streamed through their Facebook group page and YouTube beginning at 6 p.m. The night will be filled with celebrations, prizes, giveaways, music, and more. And for more information on that as well, please visit Aurora Black Community Facebook page. As everyone's aware, effective February 22nd, so yesterday, as of Monday, the region of York, including the town of Aurora, is now in the red control zone as the province moves to open up our economy. This is critical for our local businesses, but at the same time, we need to remember to remain vigilant when it comes to the protocols that are in place. And so I'm asking everyone in our community to please remember the simple things that they need to continue to do. Wash your hands, maintain physical distancing, wear your masks, and adhere to capacity limits. We all want to be able to get back. We want to see our local businesses start to begin to thrive again, but we need to work together on this, and we need to ensure that everyone remains safe. I've always said that the safety of our residents is priority number one. And we're all concerned about our local businesses, but we also have to make sure that we remain safe. And remember, while everything is open, this was talked about at the region, let's not make it an outing. If you need to go somewhere, visit one of our local businesses, but don't make it a family outing. At this point, we still need to remain a little bit cautious, and we have to take that cautious approach. So I'm asking everyone to take that cautious approach. And as vaccines continue, we're going to get there. We're going to be there. And it's about keeping each other safe. And so we're going to do that. our economy is opening up. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll look at if the numbers are really good, the province will be looking at moving us to possibly an orange zone. So we'll see how we do. And I think that if we all work together, we'll see us continue to move in a positive direction as we continue to combat this pandemic. So I thank everyone for following the rules and continuing to follow the rules and the guidelines. So council, with that, we'll move to bylaws. And a motion to move the bylaws. Councillor Thompson, second by Councillor Kim. Comments or questions on the bylaws? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk?
Hey, Mr. Mayor, motion to approve the bylaws on this evening's agenda. Councillor Humphries, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
And Mayor Maracus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that? Councillor Humphries, Councillor Gardner, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recorded vote for the confirming bylaw. Councillor Thompson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Gilliland?
Yes.
Councillor Gardner?
Yes.
Councillor Humphries?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And finally, motion to adjourn. Councillor Gardner, second. Councillor Kim. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
Be cautious. Yeah.